Hi there, welcome back. Welcome back to another video in the Telefunken Opus 8 series. This, as you can probably tell, is the final video in this series. I have completed the radio, and I'm going to just go over some of the things that I did, the things that were still outstanding. There were a few things, not much, but the main job was actually the cabinet. And for me, the cabinet is sort of a love and hate task because I'm not really that good at finishing the woodwork. In the past, I used to go crazy and do strip downs, complete strip downs. And now I've found I've actually started enjoying some of the patina look, some of the aged look, a lot more than I used to. It's not to say you don't correct faults, but you don't try and make it look like it's completely new. You just make it look better as is, all right? Anyway, this thing has worked out pretty well, but I'm going ahead of myself here. Let me show you what it is that was still outstanding, and then at the end of the video we do a quick demo to show you what reception is like. Spoiler alert, it's good. Enjoy. I want to have a look at the Selenium rectifier's condition with a view to probably changing it. So I've got everything on, I've got FM selected, the volume is down, and we're supposed to be getting 255 volts. And we're obviously not. Now, 237, 238 is what we're getting on there. That's not too bad. I'm measuring right at the output of the Selenium rectifier over there. So that's the real B+. So 237, 236 to 255, you know, it's 18 volts. It's not a big deal, but I'm going to replace it anyway because these things, well, they've had their fair share of hard work and they could go wrong. And when they do, well, can get a bit catastrophic. So I'm going to replace that. I want that to be a 255 or so. Now again, this depends on the line voltage at the time. Right now I've connected this thing directly to the mains without the dim bulb tester, without the variac. This is what we're getting. We're probably around 235 coming in. This is 237 DC coming out. So I'm going to do that replacement. So here we have the Selenium rectifier. It's one of the tubular ones. It looks like a capacitor actually. Most of the ones on this era are those flat ones with a bridge rectifier configuration. But this one is tubular. Nothing different between it and the others. It's just a bridge rectifier. It's basically 4 diodes. The difference between this and a normal 4-diode bridge rectifier, silicon bridge rectifier, is that this thing creates a bigger voltage drop. So, you know, when you take the normal formula of ACN multiplied by root 2, which is 1.414, you should get so much DC out, and then you subtract diode drops. Well, this diode drop is large. Now, I could replace this whole thing. I could actually remove this and restuff this. I'm not going to do that because I see that one of the pins, one of the clips here is already broken. So my guess is when I try to unclip that one there, it's also going to break, and then this thing is going to wobble inside. So what I'm going to do is replace it with this. Now this is a little board that I did as part of one of the PCBWay projects. This is a bridge rectifier board. It's got place for 4 silicon diodes, and it's got place for 3 resistors. These resistors are in parallel. Now why is this? Well, if I replace this with 4 silicon diodes by themselves, the output voltage will probably be too high because the voltage drop across the diodes is only 2 voltage drops, 0.7 times 2. So after I built this and tested this on the radio, the voltage will probably be high. I can just put a resistor across here and actually add 3 resistors in parallel to increase the power rating or power capabilities. So I normally put about 100 ohm 2 watt over here, see what comes out there at the output. If it's too low, I put another 100 ohm in parallel, and so on and so forth. You can play around with those till you get the right voltage. And this thing works out as a neat replacement for that. This I'll probably bolt onto here. There's already a hole on there. So I'll probably put just a little spacer and bolt this on here. All the wires should reach. There's more than enough space back here for this. I'm just worried about the volume control, the volume pot there. If this thing is over here, it might just be too close to the diodes, which do make noise, and this may well pick it up. So I'll have to think of something else. Probably put it here. That should work. I'll figure a place to put this in and come back and show you the results. Okay, that's done. I've got the board bolted on here. I put the diodes on this side so it's further away from the volume pot, which is an audio signal. I don't want any diode switching noise on there. I've got a 100 ohm resistor tacked across there. I don't know what final value I will need. So now what I'll do is I'll measure the voltage here. This is now the B+. That's the positive supply line going off there. And we'll switch it on. Now I'm going to switch it on with the dim bulb tester. Just in case, just in case. Let's see what happens. Okay, we were ramping up. I've just switched it on. It's going up as expected. Now this thing says that, or the schematic says it draws about 100 milliamps. 100 milliamps on 100 ohms will be 10 volts. So we should get about a 10 volt drop across there, but I'm not sure. That's why we tested with a higher value. The actual current that's drawn depends on the voltage that's being produced, so it's an iterative process. So you've got to sort of play around and see what you get. Now as we can see, it's actually coming down below 240, 250, 249. It's nearly there, and in fact what I need to do now is I need to connect it directly to the mains without the dim bulb. I see there's no shorts, so I'm going to actually just remove the socket from the dim bulb tester, plug it directly into the mains, and see what happens. Well, yeah, okay, we had the dim bulb with the limit on, so this is obviously still a bit too high, which means I don't put I will not put another resistor in parallel. I'll actually have to put a bigger resistor across there. But let's let it settle for a while. I don't have an antenna on here. I'm actually going to remove that 100 ohm, and I'm going to try probably around 150 ohm, because this thing still needs to drop a little bit more voltage. Let me do that. Right, I've got 150 ohms on there, plugging it in. See what it drops to. This still may be a little bit high. Or rather, the resistance a little bit low, but we'll find out now. Just give it time to warm up and stabilize. That was just a bit too much. That was a bit too much. So between 150 and 100, I need about 120. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put two 270s on there probably. In fact, ideally I'll put three 390s, and that'll give us 130, and it'll also give us 3 resistors to dissipate the current, the power. That should do it. I actually prefer to get the voltage, the resistance right before I start using multiple resistors. So I might try something else here first. Let me do that. I decided to go straight for 3 by 390 ohms. That comes out at 130 ohms because they're in parallel. They're each 2 watt resistors, so we've actually got 6 watt of power dissipation here. And we've got 252, 251. Yeah, that's good enough for me. It's supposed to be 255. We're 5 volts out. That'll alter depending on the actual voltage of the mains at the time. It does fluctuate a bit. So all I need to do now is I need to cut these down and solder them permanently onto the board. The way I designed this board is you can actually solder from the top, which is the idea. You can just take them out, put them in. Now you've got to be careful when you actually fit them on the board itself. I don't actually make them touch or let them touch the board. I separate them about 1 centimeter. And you've got to be careful that the legs aren't too long, that they go around the back and touch the chassis. That would be kind of dramatic. Let me finish this off now. And we are done. Our 3 resistors represent 130 ohms, 6 watt. So everything is nice and tight. You've got to make sure that everything is tight so that it doesn't flap around and touch the chassis, create any kind of short circuit. I think we're done. This Selenium rectifier, except for the ground pin, is completely out of circuit. but I leave it exactly where it is. And I think we're ready to carry on with this now. You may recall that this thing had electrostatic tweeters on here. It's got these as mid-range, these electrostatic tweeters. They work at high voltage and they are notorious for having a problem with the foam. There's a foam layer or a ring of foam that helps to sort of allow for the vibration of the film that creates the audio, the high frequency sound. That foam becomes really completely degraded, and I like to remove them and replace them. So I've done this one already, and yes indeed the foam was messed up. So I'm going to do this one for you and show you how it's done, or at least how I do it. So the first thing I did is remove this solder wire. I think this is just a ground. Suck up all the solder that's on there because that thing's got to come out. You've got to be careful not to melt the plastic. Now what you do is you take these pins and you twist them out. They've been bent to ensure that it grabs that cover, and you just gently, very gently, because they do break, straighten them so the cover will be able to come up. Looks like it. Now just gently, everything is gently here, just prod this out. This one doesn't want to come out because it's still got solder on there. Not good. Okay, now that in here we have that mica, I think it's a mica film. Now that contact there's a contact, there's a little leaf on here which takes the signal from this rim, which is provided by the red wire here. That provides that, or sends that to that plate, and I'll just do a very gentle clean on here with isopropyl alcohol. I'll clean the plate really very, very, very gently and very carefully here. Let's see if we can get that loose. Just to make sure that there's no grime on there. And as far as this is concerned, we can put it back. Now I try to put it back where it was with that little plate. Yep, that's it. And I can leave that for now. Now you can see here, this is foam. This is that foam I'm talking about. We'll leave that over there. And here you can see the foam that's really just all coming out. See that? There's a layer of foam there which is just completely degraded. We can literally brush it off because it's so dry and just falls apart. And now I take a bit of foam which I've cut to basically fit in here. There's no exact measurement on this. This is about 4 millimeters thick by about, what is it, 7 millimeters wide. It's just normal packing foam, which I can now glue on here. So I'll apply some glue with the cotton swab, just so that we don't overdo it. And then I'll put the foam on top of it. By the way, make sure that the glue you use doesn't eat up the foam. That would not be good. Some of the glues will interact or react with the foam, and you won't have foam anymore. It just eats it away. So, let's get started. Let that dry for a while, and then we'll be ready to come back. Okay, that's been sitting there for a little while. Now I need to put this in, and I want to put it in the same orientation that it was in before. So I believe, yep, that's it. Just to make sure that this thing doesn't pop out, I'll raise this. Okay, that's it. Don't push it in too far. Don't put too much pressure on. Just fit it nicely over the foam. The foam is sort of holding it back a little bit. And now you just bend these guys out again. Solder that round back. The other thing I want to do is just clean out those solder connections for the wires that I'm going to be attaching to this. There we go. One more thing I want to do is make sure that these coils, there are little coils on here. The wire comes in here, goes through a coil, an inductor, and then it goes to that respective connector. Make sure that those, yep, that's still fine. Yep, those are good. And we're done. These are done. I can put them on the chassis, on the cabinet. And the two electrostatic tweeters have been redone. This is just bent enough to hold it in. You don't want to overdo it. Definitely not. Time to put this in the cabinet. This is what you call getting carried away. I started putting those in. One thing led to another. Before I knew it, I had fitted the entire cabinet. Now the speakers, the side speakers are on. Everything was cleaned on there. The main speakers came out beautifully, as I expected. And they are massive, massive. Here we have the other two on here as well. Now the one thing you've got to be careful with is the wiring, because this does have high voltage going to the electrostatic speakers, and if you're not careful, you could have a very, very bad day. What I did before I removed anything is I took photographs, and those photographs are priceless when it comes to rewiring this thing. Some of that signal goes over the top, some of it goes across, as you can see. So you've got to be very, very careful. And with the photographs, it just avoids any stupid mistakes. As for the cabinet, well, that was actually just a normal cleanup job. I painted the back. That black trim has been painted. I always like to do that because it does make quite a difference. And the cabinet itself, well, let me show you the front and sides and you can decide for yourself. One has always got a few choices as to what to do with the cabinet. One of the choices is to sand everything down to the wood or to the veneer and start reapplying varnish of sorts. I decided to do it differently on this one. There was no real damage on the cabinet, so I just sanded down all the lacquer or part of the lacquer, not the varnish itself. And then with my usual technique of applying some, what is it? It's really paint. It's like those pens to cover damage on wood. I did that and then I just applied lacquer again, transparent lacquer. About 4 coats, sanding with water paper, water sandpaper, wet and dry sandpaper as I went along. And the result is actually very good. There is quite a bit of patina visible, as you can see. I think you can see. You can see this thing has aged, but it actually looks good. It's probably just an excuse because I can't do as good a job as Dave Tipton, but it's my story and I'm sticking to it. I'm really happy with this. The grill cloth is immaculate, absolutely perfect. And then everything else, well, you've seen that before. These side bits, those cream colored bars, they cleaned up perfectly, nothing broken. And this thing just looks amazing. As it should. It's a Telefunken Opus. And now, of course, we just need to know what it sounds like. Let's give it a bit of a try out. Let's start with long wave, because that's usually a pretty fast one. It doesn't receive much. Just switched it on. I've got the mini whip antenna on here for long wave, medium wave and short wave. There's my beacon as usual. This is actually BBC Radio 4, I believe. Not picking up too well today.
Dans les concessions, pourvoir pour que les anciens détiennent aussi les plus jeunes de leur expérience.
I don't know where that's from. It's in French. And that's our long wave, medium wave. All this will be North Africa or Canary Islands. I don't know where that is.
Continúa en los sintonías de Radio 5. Hasta luego. Hasta luego. Señoras, señores, bienvenidos al espectáculo.
That's definitely North Africa.
Es el grupo de estudio del SIDA de la Sociedad Española de Enfermedades.
Yo recuerdo aquellas valiosas
Again, Canary Islands.
Periodo del año pasado. Uno de los motivos, aparte de la crisis económica, es también la escasez.
El SIDA.
That's our local station, the only one we've got. North Africa. And that's it. Let's try shortwave. Where are we going to get something today?
On October, said it was making its position public after a report sent to EU
This is on the 19 meter band.
that a large amount of agricultural subsidies
Fine tuning works very well here.
sustainable.
Bila, prise par les rebelles en août. La semaine dernière, le Premier ministre Abiy Ahmed a dit se rendre mener la contre-offensive contre les Tigréens. En juillet, les rebelles ont repris
25 meter band.
le Tigré, puis avancé dans les régions voisines.
This thing is amazing on shortwave. It picks up very, very well. Let's try FM. Actually, let me go to the end here where we have two strong stations. This is on 88.
Nordeste é outra coisa também, né? É tudo diferente. É muito
Perfect
grande.
reception. Perfect.
A gente resume até o você. Vai.
Você vai, pois é, você vai.
Não. Não foi.
É importante porque, na verdade, tu viveste 2 anos.
This is a station that I normally don't receive very well over here.
Sim. Tu foste para a restauração. A ideia que eu fiquei é que tiveste uma...
This is a surprise. I never get anything here. Or here, really. This is one of the usual strong stations. As usual, everything is stock radios, is music, so can't really stop here.
Recebi telefonemas de vereadores de...
But what I can tell you is that this thing is picking up very, very well. And I'm actually picking up stuff here that I normally just sweep past because it's not worth listening to. It's usually very distorted, very grainy. This time, this thing is picking up quite well. And I'm actually curious to see how it's going to pick up when I finally get that the tweaks done on the antenna booster. So yeah, okay. Another one complete, it seems. And this one I'm particularly proud of because it's a Telefunken Opus. I really love these radios. This one has proven to meet up to its expectations as far as I'm concerned. The quality of the sound is amazing. I have left the option open to put in a Bluetooth receiver internally. I've actually connected a wire to the tape input and a wire for from the heater voltages. I've got them wrapped up and taped on the side if I want to put that in later. But yeah, this one is a big one. It's a great radio and I'm really, really happy with the result. No real major challenges here except for that little stupid error of mine, or rather oversight with the FM when I thought I was going to have to open that the FM casing. But fortunately, it sorted itself out, literally, when I put the voltage up. So once again, this is really a strange time for me when I come to an end of a project. It sort of feels that, yeah, I don't want to shut up, but I should, and I will. I want to thank you all for watching. Thank you for keeping me company. And if you like this, click like, share, subscribe, and all that jazz. And if you want to support the channel directly, you can do so on Patreon. Links are at the end of the video and in the description below. Once again, thanks for watching. Bye for now and stay safe.